We have learned a ton through this first part of the 2019-2020 NBA season. LeBron and AD, better than we thought. The Hawks, a lot worse than we thought. We thought the Suns and the T-Wolves might push for the playoffs. Yeah, not so much. And Pat Beverly and Russell Westbrook still haven't made up.
What else is in?
In the post-Warriors era and after a big summer, there were supposed to be contenders everywhere. It's not quite that wide open, but it's still super exciting. Still, there is so much to learn in 2020 because the eventual non-Warriors champion will be crowned. As we look ahead, we are discussing 5 big questions for 2020 in the NBA, and we will count them down in order of importance. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. We're trying to grow this channel. Hit us with a subscribe, coming out with 3 quality NBA videos every week. Every sub counts, every follow counts. Hit me up on Instagram at AM Hoops and on Twitter at Casey Kiernan. Our number 5 question for 2020, what would it take for Zion to catch Ja Morant and Kendrick Nunn for Rookie of the Year? Zion has sat on the sidelines this year after knee surgery and had to watch the guy picked after him and an undrafted player battle it out for his award. Ja is the highest scoring rookie and the highest flying too.
Going for the big time hammer.
Apologies to Kevin Love for showing that. At the time Love said that Ja ended his career, I am still dreaming of him making that shot. Meanwhile, Kendrick Nunn has had a historic start. Over the past 25 years, only Jerry Stackhouse and Kevin Durant scored more points in their first 5 games. Those guys were the number 2 and 3 picks. Nunn was undrafted. Honorable mention goes to Eric Pascal, who's scoring over 15 points per game for the Warriors, but Morant and Nunn are leading the way. The last time we saw Zion, he was wrecking the NBA preseason. No rookie the last 20 years has averaged 20 points per game in the preseason. Zion averaged 23. Zion should come back to play about half the season, and at this point to win Rookie of the Year, he'd have to do what he did in the preseason and somehow lead the Pelicans to the playoffs. Both are almost impossible, which is why Vegas had Zion as the favorite. Now he's down to plus 700 with RJ Barrett. Our number 4 question, can Russell Westbrook and James Harden get on the same page? It sounded foolproof. 2 MVPs in the same backcourt. Or if one goes off, put the other in, an MVP on at all times. So far, here's the results. Their pace is amazing. They've gone from number 26 last year all the way up to number 3, and that is all Russ. But unfortunately, so is this. Here's the on-off numbers with Harden and Russ. Yep, Russ hadn't exactly fit in, while the Beard is having the 3rd highest scoring season in history at 38.9 points per game. So to combat that and to take advantage of Russell Westbrook, teams are doubling James Harden as soon as he crosses the half-court line. Meanwhile, Westbrook is historically bad. Among players who have attempted at least 5 threes per game, Russ is having the worst 3-point shooting season ever at 22.8%. He's also handling the ball a ton, which isn't a good thing either. Among players with at least 30% usage rate, he's dead last in true shooting percentage by a lot at 50.4%. But here's the good news. We saw a ton of promise in their December win over the Phoenix Suns. Check this out. Westbrook and Harden combined for an efficient 77 points. Keyword there, efficient. Russ was only 11 for 21, and he took only 2 threes. He's actually amazing at the rim, and this game is a recipe for success. Now, to be fair, the Suns were playing Harden in single coverage most of the time, but if somehow Houston can repeat this formula, they will be really, really dangerous. Our number 3 question for 2020, will the Sixers get consistent? They beat Boston twice, but lost to Phoenix, Orlando, and OKC. They lost to Washington, then beat Toronto, Denver, and Boston in a row. Now, the good news for the Sixers is a lot of this just looks mental. Physically, they're as big as they come in the league these days. Joel Embiid, elite rim protection. Josh Richardson, Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle are damn good too defensively, and they can go on impressive offensive runs. But again, mentally, there's weird turnovers in the 4th quarter, a lackadaisical approach, especially against lesser teams, and then this zone defense thing. Philly lost 3 straight to Brooklyn, Miami, and Dallas. Those last 2 used a ton of 2-3 zone. But here's the thing, mentally they were prepared, the zone defense was in their scouting report, and they didn't do much better against man-to-man defense. The Sixers shot 40% when they saw zone against Miami and Dallas, and just 43% against man. From three, the numbers are almost identical. Joel Embiid agrees that it's a mental thing. After their loss to Dallas, he said this, quote, "I feel like, especially tonight, we are playing scared. If they can play confident and consistent, Philly can contend with Milwaukee and Boston to get out of the East into the NBA Finals. If they can't, they need to look to shake up this roster before the trade deadline." Our number 2 question for 2020, how will playing through injury affect Anthony Davis? AD came to the Lakers with a lot of hype and a reputation, injury prone. Is it deserved? Well, he only missed 20 games twice in his career. One was last year due to that trade request. His first 4 seasons, he averaged around 65 games per year, then 2 seasons of 75. Not bad. What those numbers don't tell you though is how many times AD had to leave a game with an injury going back to the locker room. He's the kind of guy that doesn't get the big catastrophic injury, but he gets these little nagging injuries. There's even a Twitter account devoted to it. Now that's just mean. This year, he still picked up those nagging injuries, but now he is playing through them. AD re-aggravated his shoulder injury in the 3rd game of the season. He tweaked his ribs a few weeks later against the Suns. Then he injured his ankle against the Hawks, but finished the game. The LeBron-AD partnership has been amazing, like we mentioned, but these injuries are affecting AD's play sometimes. In one game, he can drop 40 with 20 boards against the Grizzlies. Then against the Hawks, he'll be limited to 14 points, a single rebound, and looks like he doesn't want any contact. Now, from what I can tell, there are 2 reasons why he's not sitting out more and preserving his body. The first is he wants to win. This is AD's first real chance on a winning team. And the second is the standard being set by LeBron James.
If I'm healthy, I play.
That's just going to be your approach all year.
I mean, that should be the approach. I mean, unless we're getting to late in the season, we've clinched and we can't get any better or any worse, and it could benefit from that. But I mean, why wouldn't I play if I'm healthy? It doesn't make any sense to me, personally. I mean, I don't know how many games I got left in my career. I don't know how many kids that may show up to a game that they're to come see me play, and if I sit out, then what? That's my obligation. My obligation is to play for my teammates, and if I'm healthy, then I'm gonna play. If coach sits me out, then I'm not healthy, and it's just that simple.
So maybe LeBron's Iron Man mentality is rubbing off on AD, but should it? Is Davis built like LeBron? No one is or has ever been in the history of the NBA. Maybe AD leaves games often because that's what his body needs. Will this all come back to bite the Lakers eventually and ruin their season? That is a big question for 2020. But the number 1 question is who makes that championship winning addition? Now I say addition because this could be a trade or a buyout. Again, this is the post-Warriors era. More teams feel like they're a piece away from a title than in recent memory. The Clippers, Lakers, and maybe Mavs will battle for Andre Iguodala. Can the Bucks or Sixers add another shooter? What about the Miami Heat? No one saw them being this competitive. We know Pat Riley will stop at nothing to get another ring. Maybe that means a point guard like Kyle Lowry or even Jrue Holiday. Now about Holiday, what about him to the Nuggets? The asking price will be steep, but if Denver is willing to pay up, maybe Michael Porter Jr.? They could be scary. Adding Kevin Love to CJ, Dame, Melo, and eventually Nurkic could be enough to drag Portland to the playoffs, maybe to a conference finals. In the big man market, we could see Steven Adams get moved if OKC wants to rebuild. And there is a world where Andre Drummond is moved too. He's in a contract year, and if Detroit isn't going to pay him, why let him walk for nothing? Now that big man landing in Boston might be a stretch, but it's not impossible. Do they decide it's time to move on from Gordon Hayward? If they do, they could really upgrade. Reports say Dallas is at least a possibility. KP, Luka, and Andre Drummond? That's legit. We will know who lands where soon in 2020. The trade deadline is February 6th. But what effect those moves actually have will play out throughout the rest of the year. So those are our big 5 questions. There are some questions that didn't quite make the list. They're like honorable mention. Will the Hawks continue to sink even with John Collins is back in the flow? Will Phoenix finally end their playoff drought? What about San Antonio's playoff streak? So once we answer all those questions here in 2020, we'll be closer to what we really want to know: who wins the NBA title?
Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a weekly NBA video.